Alternate timeline UFO incidents from UFO civilizations lost to our Strand. Volume 1. Now we slip between the cracks of the cold files into those dim hallways where alternate UFO encounters were recorded not in this world, but in others. What if entire civilizations reached us in other timelines and never once grazed ours? Here are a few such echo UFO incursions. Alien civilizations whose craft, emissaries, or debris were recovered in timelines divergent from ours. Each is unknown here, either because they never developed spaceflight in our Strand, their expedition never reached Earth here, their craft never crashed or did, but the veil held. Echo UFO incidents, UFO civilizations lost to our Strand. Echo UFO incident 1. The Quariell event, Echo timeline Theta J32. Alternate history. In this timeline, the Soviet Union pursued deep polar research in collaboration with secretive Finnish Aurora study programs. These expeditions led to the discovery of a singing meteor lodged in sea ice. The USSR classified it as an extraterrestrial anemone, but folklorists secretly noted similarities to ancient Yakut spirit maps. Location: Laptov Sea Ice Shelf, 1964. Recovery: Russian scientific trawler found a translucent meteor embedded in Arctic ice. Inside, thin threads of bioluminescent matter arranged in spirals. Civilization: the Quariell. Atmospheric filament beings from a gaseous super-Earth orbiting a red giant. Why? Unknown here. In our Strand, the Quariell homeworld never formed. Its star collapsed early. Cosmic divergence. The Quariell evolved on a super-Earth that never formed here. In our Strand, the red giant collapsed prematurely, leaving behind no stable orbit. Their existence required a more stable, late-stage stellar expansion in that region of space. Conclusion: USSR classified it as an extraterrestrial anemone. The threads dissolved when removed from their frozen shell, but not before emitting harmonic pulses, songs in pentatonic scales. The bioluminescent filaments dissolved upon exposure to open air, but not before producing haunting pentatonic tones, interpreted by Soviet musicians as frozen folk songs. Echo UFO Incident 2. The Avalon Reactor Vault, Echo Timeline Gamma-1919A. Alternate history. This Earth branched away due to slight tectonic shifts, causing earlier British archaeological curiosity in rural moorlands. The discovery of a fairy star by villagers initiated an MI6 side operation, codenamed Cold Shine. Britain studied the zero-point device until it vanished mysteriously in 1941. Some suspect it was taken to Germany under Operation Silver Key. Location: Dartmoor, England, 1919. Recovery: a stone cairn found containing a perfectly preserved geometric core. The villagers called it a fairy star. Inside, a stable zero-point reactor the size of a teacup. Civilization: the Elidrixi, crystalline insectoids from a binary star system in the Mizar cluster. Why? Unknown. Here, the Elidrixi civilization was wiped out by a planetary tectonic catastrophe before reaching interstellar capability in our Strand. Cosmic divergence. In our Strand, The crystalline Elidrixi never reached interstellar travel. Their homeworld fractured during early crust formation due to intense gravitational strain between twin suns in the Mizar cluster. Conclusion. Studied briefly by British intelligence, but the artifact vanished during World War II. The reactor remains lost. Some alternate historians claim it resurfaced in the 1980s as part of the failed Valhalla energy weapon program in Iceland. Echo UFO Incident 3. The Seraph frame impact. Echo timeline Delta-93R. Alternate history. In this variant, Peru never experienced the full neoliberal wave of the 1990s. Instead, indigenous spiritual leaders held greater social influence. When a non-material frame landed near Nazca, it was treated as a sacred event. The shamans were the first to interact with it, not government officials. Location: cliffs above Nazca, Peru, 1993. Recovery: locals discovered what looked like a twisted metallic humanoid frame wrapped in mirror film and feathers, with no propulsion or solid interior. Civilization: the Aetheron Choir, post-physical beings that inhabit plasma sheaths around magnetars. Why? Unknown here. Their star never stabilized enough to form magnetar rings in our version of the cosmos. Cosmic divergence. This choir-like post-physical species only exists in strands where a magnetar system stabilizes early, forming plasma rings. In our cosmos, that particular star became unstable and never hosted the resonant sheath beings. Conclusion. Ritualized by shamans. When one sang into the head, it responded with visions of future earthquakes. Eventually confiscated. The device gave accurate premonitions of earthquakes, not through data, but harmonic resonance. It was eventually seized by a corporate mining syndicate and disappeared. Echo UFO Incident 4. The Chorixum Dispersal. Echo Timeline, Sigma 2025L. Alternate history. This Earth strand experienced an ocean-centric tech boom in the 2020s, following an energy crisis that made deep-sea geothermal research top priority. A Senegalese biotech research vessel discovered the drifting pod near an experimental reef platform. Location: off the coast of Senegal, underwater shelf. Alternate, 2025. Recovery: a partially intact pod with transparent kelp-like shielding and a sleeping entity within. Not dead, but in biostasis. Civilization: the Chorixum. Bioengineered oceanic species from a water world orbiting Procyon b. Why? Unknown. Here. In our timeline, the Chorixum evolved too slowly, and we're still pre-industrial by 2025. Cosmic divergence. In our strand, the Chorixum species, a waterborne symbiotic intelligence, remain trapped in a pre-industrial stasis. In Sigma 2025L, evolutionary acceleration triggered by volcanic ocean vents allowed them to construct living spacecraft by 2400 BCE. The humanoid entity recovered in the pod represents a more refined, symbiotic avatar of the Chorixum's alternate evolutionary branch, a form adapted for diplomatic first contact. This evolved phenotype likely emerged after millennia of bioengineered adaptation tied to their living technology, volcanic accelerated evolution, and oceanic resonance logic. Conclusion. The pod leaked salt-adaptive nanites into the local waters. A surge in plankton mutations followed. The being never awoke. The pod's salt-adaptive nanites altered regional plankton DNA. While the being never awoke, its presence seeded biological diversity for decades, leading to unexplained booms in certain marine life forms. Echo UFO Incident 5. The Tarhim Collapse Craft. Echo Timeline Omicron 52Z. Alternate history. In this strand, Canada hosted an independent mycological defense agency post-World War II in response to bio-warfare fears. The discovery of the spore ship, echoing both cathedral architecture and fungal interior design, triggered 42 years of deep quarantine. Location: Alberta Badlands, Canada, 1952. Recovery: a black spore ship with internal architecture resembling mushroom gills turned cathedral. The outer skin vibrated at human speech. Civilization: the Tarhim, fungal superorganism from a rogue moon ejected from the Triangulum galaxy. Why unknown here? The Tarhim never escaped their rogue moon's orbit in our strand, and are still dormant beneath ice. Cosmic divergence. The Tarhim only exist in timelines where rogue moons from the Triangulum galaxy intersect intergalactic drift corridors. Their existence relies on tidal isolation and radiation-based collective consciousness, which never formed in our strand. Conclusion. The Canadian government quarantined the area for 42 years. A lone mycologist wrote a book of poetry after entering the craft, then disappeared. Only that man, a poet mycologist, entered the craft. He emerged with pages of alien poetry encoded in scent and tone, then vanished. His notes later formed the basis for an underground cult called the Hollow Fruiting. Notes on cross-timeline contact. In most of these strands, no Roswell equivalent occurred, or if it did, it was wholly unrelated to the incidents above. These events were singular intrusions, not part of wide-scale visitation like the Greys, tall whites, or reptilian contact myths. The civilizations here are quiet, untranslatable, unreplicable, and in most cases, non-repeatable. They represent the marginalia of cosmic contact, where other Earths were briefly brushed by alien minds we cannot even imagine, because their stars, songs, and shapes were never ours. These were not the Roswells or the Greys. These were quieter visitors. Filament songs, living kelp, dreaming spores, and they brushed Earth only in other timelines. In our world, their stars never rose, their ships never fell. But in others, they left behind echoes,